So I'm Silka and I am Head of Emerging Design at Adobe. And this means that I work across all the creative teams and help them understand where and why and for what purpose should we include emerging technologies, and then work directly with the designers to make sure it is as human as possible and it's not just about the technology. So I wrote a chapter titled Designing for Our Senses, Not Our Devices. So my whole perspective is about, first focused on software design, but from a designer's point of view. When I think about spatial computing, or the mirror world, I think the biggest change that it gives us is the way that we relate to a computer. For the last 30 years, it's been 1 to 0. We've had to learn how to interact with the computer. We've had to learn its ways, its quirks, and understand it. With spatial computing, the promise of it is that now it becomes a one-to-one. It's what Timothy was starting to talk about, in that with the way that computers can understand what we're saying and maybe even our intent of what we're going to say, they can start to reflect things in a more human way back to us. I talk more about this in the book. But to describe what spatial computing is in a very simple way, I see it as 3 parts. One is it's interacting with the real world, and computers can interact with me and you and the physical environment and places and things around us. But this is the digital and physical connection is made when sensors that are in our phones, our devices, and we'll see incredible amount of hardware come out, and I agree with Timothy, for customizable hardware as well. All this becomes sensory data that then get put into either computed on your device or in clouds. And we can do amazing things with it. One, well, multiplayer, we're all used to that term in the games world, but it means that we can now collaborate with each other in ways we just can't even imagine yet. And then when you add machine learning, computer vision, and also other forms of data, the possibilities start to become endless what you can do with spatial computing. So in the way that we've come from mobile computing, spatial computing will be a lot larger and be a lot more ubiquitous eventually when this becomes one ecosystem, and there's lots of debates about how that will evolve. So fundamentally, designers or design, and I mean engineers and cognitive scientists, and I mean UI designers and architects and industrial designers, everyone that is trying to solve human problems creatively are in this category. We are moving from designing for pixels, where we sat on the back bench, and we've moved to products where we're now at the C table, and spatial computing will bring us further in that while we are designing for human perception, and we will be now having to sit with the policymakers and help push forward things that are going to not just affect the product and the target market, but society as a whole. I want to keep talking about lots of examples, but maybe we'll keep that for the panel. Okay, so how are we actually going to get there? I mean, this is overwhelming. So, how we've got there before, material design language is really good design practices for designing on mobile. And I propose that we as an industry design and create a new design language together called sensory design, because essentially we're designing the way that you and your human senses, you speak and touch and sight and proprioception, the sense of space around you, and with spatial computing, your sense of agency or choice that you now get back a little bit more with spatial computing. And how do we design for that? So I've started a group in Adobe with a bunch of cognitive scientists to first understand how do we as humans interact with humans. And I think the fundamental inspiration that we should all get when thinking about designing for spatial computing is human-to-human interaction, not human-to-computer interaction. And I just want to leave you with this quote by Robin Haneke, who is a design leader and has been an inspiration for me among many other people that I've mentioned in this book. And now I'm going to hand it over to the next speaker, who is